Yeah.
Where do I point if I want it?
As you like to
Advance.
say. Sweatshirt.
One of us can sit back here
Yeah,
if that doesn't work. All right, it's gonna be a lot of clicking, but that's all right.
that's fine.
If there's some way to, do you want us to do like the end of your slide, like the end of your sentence, or? I'll just, you'll get a rhythm for it. Okay. I don't want to like mess up, but you're okay. I'll trust you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Sarah.
There's no surprise that you can feel that isn't. Okay. That's, I got you. Let me make sure it,
Should everybody get a bag.
okay, it works. Thank you.
Okay.
You want me in the back or up here?
Whatever you feel like doing. You can hang around, you can sit down.
I think we're good. Ready? Okay, so, thank you, everybody, for being here. Although, actually, you should thank us, because it's super good for you. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. We are happy to have here today, Abby White. Abby, got her degree from here in 2020. Interesting times. You may have got out just in time.
I did one semester online.
Yeah, half a semester maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you had the 2-week long spring break.
I did. And I didn't know what was going on because I purposefully don't read the news. So I heard we were getting more spring break and I called Cass and I was like, hey, party life lights. And she was like, no. And that's how I found out about the global pandemic.
I forgot to invite Cass.
She's on the business list.
She's on the, she is in the mail. Okay.
And she knows, I told her last week. So
Okay.
that's on her. She didn't show up.
Did you get a graduation ceremony?
Yes, but it was a year late.
All right. Okay.
I loved it. Yeah, it's a good move.
And then for those who are interested in 3-2, she did 2 years at Clarkson in civil engineering. From there branched out to DOT, which is what she's going to explain to us today. So thank you, Abby. You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. This is heavy highway construction and management. If I have a tendency to speak fast when I get nervous, so if I start speaking too fast for anyone, stop me and be like, you're speaking too fast. This is mostly going to be about, the first half is going to be about me and what I do, because a lot of people don't know about what I do. And then the second half is going to be what I would do if I was in your shoes. So I think I met one person, but does anybody else thinking about civil engineering or going into engineering? Nice. Good. We need more civil engineers. I was telling people out there in the front, I can't be the experienced person at 26, okay? Some of you young people are gonna have to get in now and learn with me before everybody else retires, because I cannot be the person that everybody calls, okay? Before we start this is based on my experience and what I think it is. What I say is not necessarily the opinions of the department. Just because I say something doesn't mean that that is what the official New York State DOT thinks, feels, or believes. All right? Okay. Up and away. So who am I? Like we just said, I graduated from the 3-2 program. I graduated from Sonoriana in 2020. I graduated from Clarkson in 2022. I am currently an engineer in charge for NISAT Region 1 construction. So I do not work in design. I do very little actual engineering. My job is basically project management with a fancy title. This is me in my hat with my GPS unit. I am out in the field every day. Very, very rarely am I in an office. That being said, I got into this because I didn't want to look at spreadsheets all day, and I have been promoted to a point where all that I do is sit in my little field office and look at spreadsheets all day. So I currently have 7 years of experience in heavy civil construction inspection and administration work, which means that I started at 18 in the TCI program. So this is Region 1, everything in light blue. That means that I have nothing to do with the roundabout at the intro to town. Do not at me. I don't know why they did that. I was not responsible for it. I don't know anybody who worked at it. I don't know. Do not complain to me about it. I only work in this light blue area.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of like the.
I like it too.
I agree.
I love roundabouts.
Yeah.
The
speed needs to be.
I don't know if I like it.
That's why they put the humps in.
Everybody trying to tell.
All right, so working for Region 1 means I only work in these counties, which is good from a life balance perspective, because it means I don't work west of where I live. I don't work east in other states, obviously. If they send you up to Essex, it's a maximum of 2.5 hours back to my house. If they send me down to Greene, it's a maximum of 2 hours. A lot of people in construction, they get sent all over. I like working in Region 1. It also means I will never be asked to work down here. Okay. This is my career path. So I started with the TCI program with the region at 18. I was able to do that because I had a lot of college credits from high school. Yes.
Is TCI?
Transportation Construction Inspector.
Okay, thank you.
So these are baby inspectors. They don't really do a whole lot. It's learning what construction inspection is. Probably should have put it earlier in the presentation. So let's say that you're paying someone $20 million to build a bridge, right? Nobody has $20 million just laying around to build your bridge and then get paid afterwards, right? Or even 18 and then 2 in profit. So they get progress payments as they go, right? So if they bid $20 a cubic yard for dirt, if they put in 3 yards of dirt, I got to pay them $60. TCIs don't do a lot of measuring the actual quantities. They don't do any of the payment work. What they handle is a lot of the enforcement of the standards and specifications and the measurements of what was put in. This is a baby inspector role. It's learning. Everybody knows you're learning. It's to get people experience with construction in the field. And I hated it. Did not like it. Did not enjoy. Bad time.
We had a student who predated you by 15 years.
Mm.
I'm wondering if this was an internship she had.
It's a very popular program.
And one of her tasks was to measure, certify cement when it arrived on the scene before it got.
Yep, I still do that.
Okay,
Yep. And you get the little cone in the inner pot and you make sure that it's within, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
she intimidated.
I did a lot of dirt testing in this job. It was a lot of, hey, Abby, here's a 50-pound bag of rocks. Go sieve it by hand 3 times. Okay, so I didn't like that. So I said, I want to do something different. So I got a job in the cement lab. I said, surely I won't have to shake rocks if I'm in a cement lab and I won't have to work any overtime. And then COVID happened and I couldn't have that job back. And I said, crap, I need a job because I need to be able to pay for school. So I went back to construction inspection and I got a job with Stantec as a construction inspector 1. That is the next level up from a TCI. And I was on a paving job and I worked a crap ton of hours and I paid for a whole year of school in 1 summer. And then they lost that contract and I couldn't have my job back the next summer. So I said, oh crap, I need a job because I need to pay for things. So I got another job with Robbie Engineering as a construction inspector on the traffic signal where and when contract. And then I graduated from school. And I couldn't deal with this temporary, you're going to get laid off, blah, blah, blah job. So I got another job. I got a job with PA Collins Construction Companies as a field engineer. And that is in private industry. And I didn't like that. Bad time. Did not enjoy. Not their fault. I didn't understand what I was walking into. I didn't understand how different it was going to be from what I was doing. And so I got another job because I had to pay for things. And I went back to NISDOT as an assistant engineer in construction. So that's my career path to where I am right now. And it looks all humbly jumbly, right? That you're going in and out and in and out and move into all these different things. But if you look at the next slide and you look at what my actual roles were, it becomes very traditional. So I start as a junior inspector. That's when I'm 18, that's when I'm a TCI on a culvert repair and replace job. Then we kind of discount the lab work because it's not super impeccable. I go to Stantec. Now I'm just an inspector on this paving job. Then I go to Robbie, Suddenly I'm chief inspector on the traffic signal where and when. Graduate, I move up. When I was with Collins, I was doing quality engineer work. That's not really the same thing. But when I come back to NISDOT, I'm an office engineer. That means I do a lot of the paperwork, right? I'm starting to make those progress payments, but I can't approve them yet. Then I get my first job as engineer in charge. That's the next step up. Now I'm making payments and I have the ability to reject work, say I'm not going to pay for that. Then I'm here. This is what I'm working on currently, which is a bridge rehab job, which is more complex, right? This is structural. This is something where if they do it wrong, things go wrong really fast. And you can see how each step is more and more responsibility as you gain experience. So what is construction inspection? Construction inspection is active participation and coordination with the contractor to ensure compliance with the contract documents and all relevant standards and specifications. What does that mean? It means sometimes contractors, through ignorance or malice, try to do some funky stuff that will make the bridge not the way it's supposed to be, right? Sometimes it's trying to use concrete that isn't in spec. Sometimes it's not spraying epoxy rebar where they cut it, and that'll cause corrosion and decrease the lifespan of the structure. Sometimes it's not paying their people right? That's why we have to do wage rate interviews. Sometimes it's not setting up a work zone correctly, and that'll cause accidents or for people to be unsafe. I wasn't done with that.
Sorry.
Typically, it's mostly the measurement and payment of as-built quantities. As I said, nobody has $20 million sitting around in a bank account somewhere. Well, maybe Jeff Bezos does, but he's not trying to build a bridge, right? No construction company has $20 million sitting around somewhere to go build your bridge and get paid lump sum at the end. They need money to keep the job going, but we don't want to pay for anything that they haven't done yet or that they haven't done correctly. So my job when I was an inspector, and what my inspector's job now is to make sure that they build the thing right, that they work safely, that they do it correctly, and that they are getting paid for only what they did that was acceptable. It's a lot of concrete testing, earthwork testing, and ensuring that they're following the Buy American procedures. You can't buy Chinese steel and slap an American flag sticker and say you want to use it on a state job. That's not how it works. There's a lot of certification. There's a lot of testing. There is very, very rigorous requirements for anything that goes into a DOT job. And if we have time at the end, I'll pull up the standard specs because they're all forward facing and I can give you an example. But it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of technical knowledge, and it's a lot of being involved with the contractor and making sure that they're doing the right thing. Fun game, the next time you drive through a work zone, look at everybody who's working in it and look for the guy in a different vest who's holding a clipboard, right? That's me or the people who work with me, making sure that they're doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. So what is an engineer in charge? What do I do? The EIC is the NISDOT representative who is primarily responsible for the administration of the contract and who must ensure compliance with quality standards, minimize impact to the traveling public and the community, and enforce environmental conscientious standards. What does an EIC do? I monitor compliance with the site-specific safety plan. I run estimates for work completed. That's that progress payment where every 2 weeks I'm giving them a chunk of money for the work that they did. If they don't do any work, they don't get paid. I'm the environmental coordinator. When I was on that bridge painting job, we had endangered falcons that were nesting on our bridge. DEC was on my site every 2 weeks. It's my job to coordinate with them. Hey, are we doing okay? Is there something that the contractor should be doing that we're not doing? Is there something that you don't like that you see? Talk to me about it first. Don't start sending notices. I can enforce the contract and the rules with the contractor, and I can stop the job from being delayed. I am the work zone traffic control monitor, although usually you delegate this to your chief inspector. That means when they're putting up signs, when they're putting up barrels, when they're trying to close lanes on the highway, you can't just put 3 barrels across a lane and call it good. There's taper lengths, there's standard sheets, there's required roll ahead distances. We do a lot to protect our people and to protect the traveling public. And it is my job to make sure they are following those standard sheets. You would be surprised how often they don't want to. I am the RFI design coordinator. If there's something in the plans that they don't understand, they write me a letter, and it is my job to go to standards and specifications or to go to structures or to go to environmental and be like, hey, what were you thinking here? Explain to me what you were trying to get out of them. Explain to me what you want. Yes.
RFI.
Request for information.
Got it.
It's a formal way of saying, hey, we don't understand what's in this contract, or we don't know why you want us to do this thing. Sometimes it's also them asking, hey, can we do this thing instead? Right? And then it's working through the process of what the department would accept. I am a dispute tracker. If I say that they should be paid for 50 cubic yards and they say, no, we did 200 cubic yards, it is my job to keep all of the paperwork for why I think they should get paid 50 and why they think that they should get paid 200. And if that becomes a legal thing, all of those documents are legal documents that will show up in court. I am the change order administrator. If I show up on a site and the plans call for 100 feet of guide rail and they actually need 150, it's my job to write the formal change order, the order on contract that alters the legal document of the contract so that I can pay them for that extra 50 feet. So that we get the product that is correct, not necessarily what was in the plans, right? Because mistakes happen. And much, much more, right? It is extremely stressful. Extremely stressful. It is very busy. I have had weeks where I get to the site and my phone starts ringing at 7 a.m. and it doesn't stop until 5. And that's my day. And I don't get anything else done. If it is part of the project, it is my concern, right? Even if it's just homeowners being mad that we're ripping up their driveway or whatever, I'm the person that they're going to call and I'm the person who has to handle it. The main thing is being proactive. Being proactive, finding potential problems and using my engineering judgment to assess the situation and attempt to find solutions. Being proactive and being ahead of the contractor is very, very important. Because if they find something, they're going to want top dollar to fix it. If you find it first, you can say, hey, I know there's a problem here, go do something else, and I'll figure it out. Here are some problems. I was going to say, before you look at this, everything that I'm about to show you has either been fixed already or has been evaluated by the formal engineer of record and has been determined to not be a problem. All right, so I'm not showing you anything that's still out in the field that you have to be worried about. This is a culvert that we found, not a culvert, a drainage structure that we found in Petersburg, New York, on a bridge job that I was on. There were 3 of them in a line, and they wanted to put one in the middle, but they didn't want to take this pipe out. So what they did is they knocked off the 3rd side of the structure, and they hit this pipe with a sledgehammer to make a hole in it so that the water would flow into this. And that was a change order, but that's not right. And we had to pay them for a new drainage structure and more pipe and more dirt and all that. It had to be fixed. This is a pedestal on the bridge that I'm working on right now. I'm not supposed to be able to do that. You're not supposed to be able to do that. That's getting replaced. Next. Here's some corrosion. Wow. Was this on the plans? No. No, none of this was on the plans. This is a bridge deck punch through. Nowhere, not in the inspection report, not anywhere. We find things like this all of the time. Here's some more. We ran out of knife, not out of crack on that one. That was probably 4 inches deep, we found. On the structure, this is a support column that we were using to lift the bridge, right? We're taking all of the weight off of the bearing. You can see it's leaning at about 5 degrees. It's not, if any of you know your diagrams, you know that's not going to give you the stability that a straight up and down would. Okay, oh, and we'll go back one. Okay, so this is why I need the degree that I need. If I was just a project manager, if my only job was to measure quantities and to make payments, you could do that with an accounting degree. You could do that with a business degree. This is why they pay me an engineer's salary and they require an engineering degree to do this job. Because you need to be able to look at something and say, ooh, no, I need to call someone about that, right? I need to call the person who put this column up and they need to come here today and fix this. Or I need a letter from their PM saying that this is acceptable with their stamp on it. Because if something happens, it's going to be bad. I need to be able to look at that crack and say, is that structural Or is that maybe it's just the cover? I need to be able to look at that wear and tear on that bridge and say, is this a structural element or is this a secondary element? Is this something that I need to call structures about and be like, get me the head of structures right now? Or can this be an email? Okay, now we'll go through. So here's some projects that I worked on. When I worked for DA, the project that I consider to be like the biggest project that I was on was the St. Lawrence Seaway lock maintenance, where I was the quality control engineer that had a budget of $700,000. It was probably closer to $1 million by the time that we left. Route 2/22 in Petersburg was a full bridge replacement and 2 culverts. That was $4.5 million, and I was the office engineer on that, meaning I did the majority of the paperwork, the certifications, compliance with the spec, ran meetings. Climate Dams Bridge painting, that was my first job as engineer in charge. Simple job, big dollar amount. $7.3 million, engineer in charge. There was a lot of DEC coordination. Oh, and we had a railroad on that one, and that's a whole nother thing. And currently I'm I-787 bridge rehabilitation in Albany. It's $1.3 million. The engineer in charge on it, it's one of the first contracts to use the new performance engineering mixed concrete. That's new to the state. And there has been a lot of coordination with Region 1 structures that I've been responsible for. So here are some pictures. This is the St. Lawrence Seaway in the field. So this rigging here is 3 stories tall. Because we had to pick each of these pieces up, rotate them in the air, and then put them down into the lock. That's the same piece that you see lifted here, now installed. This is the view from up top. You can see this is the walkway that we had to go down every day. It's 4.5 flights of stairs. You can see the water behind the dam here that we were working in. Every day I was down in this hole, doing tests, doing measurements, trying to make sure that things didn't freeze. They built this big tent and then they would pull it back when we needed to do concrete pours and then put it back over it so we could heat everything so we cure correctly. This is Route 2/22 in Petersburg. This is when we were building the abutment. This is the U-wall abutment. And then this is after we poured the bridge deck and we were tying in the safety rail, the guide rail. Here you can see us installing the 3-sided box culvert. This is one of 2 box culverts that were on the job. Each one of these is pre-made in a precast concrete facility and is then shipped to us in pieces. Then it needs to be lifted with a crane, rotated, put into place, grouted together, tensioned, waterproofed, and then reburied. This is the Climate Dams Bridge. I don't have a lot of good pictures from this job because it was a painting job. It's just a lot of pictures of containments because it had lead paint on it and we had to blast it off. And then this is my bridge rehab job that is ongoing. So you can see a before and then what we're doing to fix it.
Where's that bridge? Oh, 87.
I-87 in Albany. This is exit 2. They're not going to pick the bridge up and move it to you. If you want to work in heavy highway construction, you are going to the thing that you want to work on. Nobody's going to pick up a bridge and put it in a warehouse so you can have the same commute to work every day. I can tell you that I've been very, very, very blessed to work in some of the most beautiful parts of this state. This picture on the far left is the St. Lawrence Seaway. That bridge goes to Canada. That's how close we were. So this side was America, that side was Canada. And I would watch the sun come up over that bridge every morning. This is in Saranac Lake. This is in Petersburg, I believe, looking into Vermont. Right? So if you like being outside, there you go. Next one. Why should you care? I'm a cool lady. I did a lot of cool stuff. What does that have to do with you guys? You got to build a good foundation while you're in school. You have to build a good foundation while you're in school. It is critical because you don't want to be out on a job with a contractor screaming in your face about how he's been doing this for 30 years and not have the types of soft skills that you need to deal with that situation. What you do at work is more than the calculations you learn. It's more than force diagrams. It's more than knowing, oh, this is what a single point charge is. It's one big group project. I need to know if a contractor is telling me something and I don't think that that makes sense, right? If you don't know the basics of what he's talking about, they can get one over on you. How many people have heard of their aunt or their grandma or whatever getting taken in by some guy who wants to do work on their house or on their furnace or on their electrical work? And, oh, you need this part or that part, or this thing's blown, or you take your car to a mechanic, right? And they try to charge you for something that it isn't. They try to run the bill up. My job is to have engineering judgment, so I know, hey, that doesn't sound right. I need to talk to somebody about that. I'm not going to authorize that until I have a discussion with someone who actually knows what's going on. Knowing the theory lets you know where something is going to go wrong, right? Like all that corrosion that I showed you. If I can look at something and be like, that's a secondary member, that's not structural. They put that there for, well, they poured the deck and then they just left it in place. Or if it's sacrificial, I don't have to bother structures and be like with 10,000 emails about this thing is corroding. Versus looking at something and being like, there's a giant hole in the web of that girder. I need to tell someone right now because that's a problem, right? And that also applies to things like lift plans, right? If they have a crane out on the site and they want to put one of the outriggers 2 feet away from the edge of a sheer cliff, no, because I know that when you put a force straight down, it's going to come out at a 45-degree angle, and I don't want that to shear off. You got to back the crane up. You can't have it that close to the leading edge. In school, practicing for high workloads and stressful projects. You can call it practicing emotions. You can call it learning from adversity. You can call it emotional resilience. There are going to be times in your career where you are going to be stressed out. Practice it now. Because the consequences now are you get a bad grade on a group project. And the consequences in the future are money and time and delays to whatever project you are working on in the real world. Effective communication eliminates most potential issues. Learning how to convey what you're trying to say to people who don't have technical knowledge, very important. Because I need to be able to talk to that crane operator about why I want him to back up. And he needs to understand what I'm saying. If I break out a force diagram, he's going to glaze over. It's a small world. You're going to see the same people over and over and over again. There are people that I worked with at 18 that now work in our structures office. There are people that I met as a TCI out in the field that I'm now working with as engineer in charge. And having that good relationship from when you were younger versus having a terrible relationship from when you were younger makes a big difference. And life is one big group project. I know everybody hates them. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You're going to be working with other people now and forever. In college, take the time to try different jobs like I did, right? I didn't think that I wanted to do this. And then I took an internship with DOT and I sat in the office for 7.5 hours a day in a cubicle staring at a spreadsheet. I was like, I can't do this. Figure that out before you commit yourself to a full-time job that you need to pay your mortgage. Try out different things. Even in the same field, individual job duties can be very different. Bridge design engineers and bridge inspectors have the same title at DOT. They have the same title, they have the same job requirements, they have the same list of qualifications. Their day-to-day, vastly different. Totally different. My actual job title is assistant engineer. Not an engineer in charge is a job duty, not a job title. I'm an assistant engineer, which is anyone who has passed their FE but not their PE. If I was an AE in geology, I'd be driving a truck around, taking core samples and measuring where bedrock is. If I was an AE in the office, I would be drafting CAD, doing work all day. Versus I'm an AE in the field and I'm an engineer in charge. Same title, same place of work, vastly different day-to-days. Even in construction, paving is very different from a where and when. If you're going to be on a paving job, they want to work 12 hours a day, sometimes more. And if it rains, you're not working. Sorry. And it's going to be very go, 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 and it's going to be very high stress while we have temperatures. A where and when is going to be 90% sitting around on your hands because it's a where and when. It's not until you have an emergency. When you have that emergency, you had better be prepared to work some nights and weekends. Learning in the field can help you in your classes and future projects. I was kind of upset about this actually, because I got into a cycle where I would learn something really fast in the field because I had to, because I was going to have to yell at somebody about it if they did it wrong. And then I would go back to school and the semester after would be, hey, that's the thing that I just learned in the field in a high pressure environment in 3 months. I actually, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I got into a little bit of an argument with a professor at Clarkson because he asked us, oh, if a contractor is going to buy dirt, do they want to buy it with more water in it or less water in it? And I put my hand up and I said, they want to buy it with less water in it. And he said, wrong, because it compacts better if it has more water in it. And I said, yeah, but you're wrong because they buy it by the ton. And if they need it to get wet, they'll leave it out when it rains. They always want to buy it dry because you get more dirt. The water isn't weighing it down. The worst thing that happens is they bring in a water buffalo and they spray it in the truck and they mix it up with the dozer. It's not that big a deal. Essential skills. You need to learn how to make phone calls. So many people my age and younger cannot make phone calls. You need to learn how to make phone calls. Phone calls are how you get immediate answers. If I am looking at something in the field and I think that's really bad, I need to make a phone call and I need to be able to convey to whatever very important person I am talking to exactly what my problem is. And I need to be able to coordinate with the contractor. I need to be able to call my superintendent and have a conversation at the end of every day about what's the plan for tomorrow. What are we doing? Where are you going to set up? Where is your staging area going to be? Who are you going to have as a crew? You need to be able to make phone calls. Not everything can be an email. You need to be able to discuss points of conflict productively. Okay? And this is something that I really, really credit my young experience in the field with. Being 18 and being handed a spec book and being put in charge of a site. Oh yeah, he's not compacting that dirt right. Go yell at him. Go tell him he can't do that. Being able to walk over and have that conversation with that equipment operator as picture 18-year-old Abby, right? Little mousy carrying the paper spec book, big yellow glasses on a construction site for the first time ever. Walk up to Hodge, who's been doing this for 30 years, and tell him you're not going to pay for that if he does it that way. I had many a panic attack my first year, I can tell you. I don't get them anymore because I practiced it enough. And I learned the way that I can say to him, hey, come on. And have him be like, all right, I'll fix it without him screaming in my face. That is a learned skill. And it's something that I use every day in my normal life. Being able to call up the guy who gave me a quote on a water treatment system and be like, hey, what's this $400 chart? I don't understand why you're tacking $400 onto the end of the bill. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to get that to you this week because of XYZ. Being able to have a discussion with someone that you are in conflict with reasonably and being able to keep a cool mind and convey your point. Big. Good idea. Clear, concise writing that conveys the desired response. I have a nickname. It's not a great nickname. It's Long Email Lady. Okay, I cannot tell you how many emails I have written with screenshots from the spec book, screenshots from the plans, screenshots from approved submittals with circles. And then at the end be like, hey, these are all different. I need you to tell me by the end of today, which one of these is right, because we're going to do something in the field next week. I think it's this one, but I need you to confirm, right? Something concise that explains the problem, shows why I think what I think, and says, hey, I think it's this one. If you agree with me, just send that back. But I think it's this one. Self-managing schedule and task list. I'm engineer in charge. I am the big boss in that office. If I don't make myself do things, they don't get done. And if they don't get done, that's problems for the office, right? Nobody's going to stand over my shoulder and be like, hey, have you written them their estimate yet? Hey, you didn't email that guy back. You're supposed to email that guy back. I need to be able to keep a list of things that I need to do, tasks that I need to do, and when I need to do them, and make sure that I'm hitting my deadlines. Otherwise, it can spiral really fast. Taking information from multiple technical sources and synthesizing an argument. That's a big one. A lot of your jobs aren't going to have one textbook, and all the answers you're going to need is going to be in that textbook. I regularly have to go to the bridge manual, the standard specifications, my project plans, my project proposal books, the design documents from when they were designing it and talking about what they were thinking when they were designing it. And I need to bring all these things together to be like, all right, what were they getting at here? What are they trying to make this do? Usually because something has gone wrong. But taking information from multiple sources and bringing it together into one complete understanding is very key in my industry. Admitting the fault. You need to be able to walk up to that contractor that you are in conflict with and say, hey, you were totally right. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have, you were right. I stopped you and I apologize, but I needed to check and make sure that what you were doing was right because it looked to me like it wasn't. You will go so much further with, you're right, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's talk about how we can fix it than just trying to fix it or just trying to make it better or just not admitting to it and breathing on by. You will have such better relationships if you can say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Admitting that you don't know something. How many times has someone walked up to me and said, I need an answer now because I've got 3 guys and 6 pieces of machine sitting on a lane and I only have this lane for 3 more hours. I need an answer right now. And I technically have the authority to give them that answer, but I don't know what the right answer is. If I told them, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want, or no, I think it's this other thing and that was wrong, that's a way bigger deal than me saying, hold on a second, I need to make a phone call. I'll get you an answer as soon as I can. Right? Because if I tell them to do the wrong thing, now that's me directing the work and we're on the hook for all the changes. You will save yourself so much trouble if you can just look someone in the eyes and say, I don't know, I need to look it up. And finally, asking stupid questions. I ask so many stupid questions. I ask a crazy number of stupid questions. And 9 times out of 10, in a voice that kind of implies that I'm an idiot, they'll go, yeah, of course it's the thing that you think it is. The 10th time out of every 10, where I call someone and I say, hey, this is a stupid question. I just want to know why these 2 pictures don't match. And suddenly I'm in a meeting and there's a flurry of emails and we're having a discussion and we're going back and forth and my boss is over there pacing back and forth on the phone with the head of structures because I really need to know why these 2 pictures don't match right now. Ask your stupid questions. Don't just look at something and say, I'm sure that so-and-so knew that it was right. Or I'm sure that they did a good job, or the contractor knows what they're doing. Ask your stupid question. Be like, hey, I know this is stupid, but can you just explain to me, like I'm 5, why we're doing it this way? It'll save you so much time and energy. And a good example of that is earlier this year, I was working on a roundabout project. It didn't make the list because it was just a temporary posting. I was just there while we were waiting for my job to go. And we were doing light pole foundations. And there's 2 sets of standards for light pole foundations. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, it makes sense to me. And I hear another inspector say, that's really weird. They didn't use the one labeled for the thing that we're using. I'm sure it's fine. Nope, time out. What do you mean? 2 hours later, I have 10 tabs open on my computer and 3 different pieces of paper printed out. And I'm writing one of my long emails. And that turned into a change order and redesigning all the foundations. Or no, we didn't redesign the foundations. We got proof that the foundation that we put in was adequate. But ask your stupid questions because it might be a big deal. Life advice, consider the reality of the job that you want. Remember what I said about not having to travel for my job? That wouldn't be true if I was still with Collins. We would be working in Vermont. We would be working in Massachusetts. We would be driving out to Buffalo. I'm a homebody. I like the husband that I married and the cats that I adopted. And I pay a lot of money for my house. I want to spend some time in it. If I was working for Collins, I couldn't do that. If you want to be a draftsman as a civil engineer, you had better be ready to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours drawing little doodles in CAD, because that's what your job is going to be. If you want to be an astronomer, you had better be prepared for some late nights, because if you can't handle late nights, that's not going to be a good fit for you. Repetitive tasks, it's gonna be the same thing. Different iterations, over and over and over again. Make sure you like what you're doing, because we're gonna be doing it for like 20 years. Engineering or project management, are you gonna be more calculations? Are you gonna be more working with people? I can tell you, I'm working with people. If I had to do calculations all day, every day, I would quit. I can't. I can do them. I like them somewhat. I cannot do them 8 hours a day, every day. It's not gonna be for me. And then stress level. I know too many people who got into this and burned out and wound up quitting in like I'm done, getting in their car and never coming back because they couldn't handle the stress. Some people need it. I'm a crazy person. I need a certain amount of stress in my life, right? Otherwise I get bored. If you don't want a stressful job, don't get into managing $20 million projects because it's not going to go the way that you want it to go. But you're also not locked in once you started. STEM degrees are highly transferable, right? I have guys working for me right now that have chemistry degrees or that have degrees in business or went to HVCC and got a 2-year engineering certification, but managed to get the job because they have a degree in, I forget what it was in, but it was some other STEM thing that wasn't engineering. I had an inspector that I worked with on that paving job that had a master's in fine art. And yeah, he couldn't get a job in that. And so this is what he was doing now. You can be trained into whatever job you decide that you want to do. All that you got to do is get your foot in the door. Base knowledge that's highly applicable is much better than base knowledge that is highly applicable is transferable everywhere. Math, chemistry, things like that, versus getting highly, highly, highly specialized into one field and maybe not using it. Sometimes there's nothing to it but to do it. Yeah, sometimes work sucks. It's unpleasant. Sometimes college sucks and it's unpleasant. And there's some big thing that you don't want to do. You just got to push through it. I'm sorry. That's being an adult. You just got to do it sometimes. Building relationships with coworkers and mentors. This was a big one. I would not be where I am today, especially at this age, if I didn't have really good relationships with a really good group of mentors who taught me pretty much everything I know. I was telling Dr. Gallagher earlier, I still call my old boss once a week with some technical question about like, yeah, I don't know what to do in this situation, but you've been doing this for 30 years. How would you handle this? Right. And he can talk me through it. I've had some recent issues where I've called someone and been like, am I being a jerk? Am I being unreasonable? Because they're acting like I'm asking them to give me the moon. I feel like I'm being very reasonable. And their response every time has been, no, you're being extremely reasonable. Tell them that you want the thing that you want. I'm like, okay, great. But let me just check in and make sure that I'm not damaging some relationship here. And take accreditation exams as soon as possible. I know so many people who graduated engineering school and didn't pass their FE. And now they're 6 years in and they forgot all the math because they don't do it every day because we work in construction. And now it's going to be way harder for them to pass that test because they're going to have to get all that math back.
What's the FE?
Fundamentals of Engineering exam. It also is called Part 1 of your licensure.
Just like every branch of engineering, electrical, or specific mechanical.
If you want to progress to be a PE, to have a stamp, you're going to have to take your FE.
Even like only off the
I believe so, but it's not my area of expertise.
Well, I missed the last part of your question.
I know it in any mechanical and civil engineers have to take that exam, so I don't know if electrical engineers have to take that exam.
I know that they offer one, but I don't know how required it is. How about that?
We can look.
What would I focus on if I was in college again? Build a strong math base. Too many people in construction can't do basic math. You should be able to do algebra on your own off the top of your head in the field. I need X number of concrete. I know that there's going to be X percentage of waste. I know that it blah, 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 and figure out how much you need. Concise, specific technical writing. I said this earlier. You should be able to write a short email about a technical problem that you are having. I think that this beam is experiencing shear. Here's a bunch of pictures and send it to your boss. You don't want 3 pages that they're going to have to scroll through. You don't want 2 sentences. Then they're going to call you and be like, I don't understand. This is your lab reports. If you get really good at your lab reports, you will be very good at this, at your conclusions and being like, because of this piece of data, this piece of data, and this piece of data, I think this is the conclusion. This is my recommended solution. Right? I'm a long email lady. I get a lot of compliments on my emails and a lot of people, but trim it down next time. Reading dense material quickly and accurately. You got to be good at reading. Any job, you got to be good at reading, and you got to be good at reading. Oh. What's it say?
It might be the remote.
Notice as well.
Did I touch something?
Maybe. Oh, God. What does it say now?
Away from screen.
I broke it. I'm sorry. I got too enthusiastic.
There we go.
Okay. Do you want the remote back?
No, I'm gonna touch something. I'll fiddle, I need something in my hands, otherwise I'm gonna.
Might have a stress squishy. Good job.
Quickly and accurately, right? I can't half skim a spec and then go have an argument with a contractor, and I've fundamentally misunderstood what it says, because he's gonna win and he's gonna lose all his respect for me. Being able to read your contract documents quickly when you need it and understand what they're saying, very, very important. Note taking, take good notes. I know that there's a lot of tools now, especially for recorded classes, that'll give you your notes. You got to be able to take your own notes in meetings, in field visits, in this is what I have to do today. You have to be able to look at your own notes 2 weeks later and be like, what was I fighting with them about again? And why was I right? Note taking, very, very important. This is just general life advice. Take like physics 1, chem 1 and 2, bio 1. It makes it way easier to tell when someone is scamming you. And it makes it way easier to tell if, same thing, like that sniff test. I don't really understand why what you're telling me would cause this outcome. What do you mean the concrete got too hot and that's why it's separating? That's definitely a vibration issue. There's nothing with temperature that would cause that to happen. But I know that because I took Chem 1 and 2, because I understand what that exothermic reaction is. And, they train you in concrete. Networking with other students and faculty. Again, this goes back to the mentors. This goes back to having a network of people. I have 20-ish people for various things that I know that I can call for various problems. It's very important, and it's what lets me do my job effectively. And it helps later when you're trying to find jobs, when you're trying to think, oh, maybe I want to go do this thing. Maybe I want to, well, what's that job like? Having a network of people that you can talk to is highly, highly beneficial. And professional events like this one. That college job I got because I went to an event like this, where they were talking about the projects that they're doing. And I went up to them and I shook their hand and I said, hi, I'm graduating. And they said, oh, you should interview with us. And I said, great, right? Being able to talk to them face to face, have them know, oh, that's the name on the resume when I send it in. And also just knowing what's out there, right? Show of hands, who knew that construction inspection was even a thing before this talk? Okay, some of you, that's better than it normally. Normally when I ask that question, there's no hands. Everybody's just like, oh, it's just contractors out there doing stuff. So you might not even know all the industries that your degree could be applicable to unless you go different things like this. Final thoughts. I'm extremely privileged to have a team of mentors who helped me develop into this extremely specific technical career of heavy highway construction in Region 1 New York DOT. My job is very stressful. I find an extreme amount of personal gratification from it, right? I feel like I'm helping. Really, I do. I feel like I'm helping the people of New York when I go to a road that's broken up and then it's fixed. When I find a bridge that is broken in a way that they didn't know about and I tell someone about it and then it gets fixed. When a sidewalk panel is all broken up and then I recommend that it gets added to the contract. I feel like I'm helping. And I hope you all have an opportunity to develop into professionals who can say the same. I'm in this very stressful job because I find it very, very, very fulfilling. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't. And this is the guy who trained me to be an EIC, one of the people I worked for as a TCI, and the only other female EIC in the region. And this is last Christmas of us all hanging out after work. So I'm very lucky to have met them and to have them to call when I have questions. And then now you know. For the question, I do really well with specific questions. If you ask me, how do you feel on blank? I don't know. Specific, what do you really want to know? Just ask. And I am an open book. Anything you want to know, anything. Things I probably shouldn't talk to you about, I probably will. So anything, ask questions.
Would you say there's like an average amount of projects that you work on every year, or is it like really variable?
They try to have, okay, so it used to be that EICs were given one job, one EIC. That varies based on like, oh, this job doesn't start up until June. They might stick you somewhere for a couple months like I did this year with the roundabout. Or if you get finished really early because you have some traffic restriction, they'll throw you on something else to help with the paperwork for a couple months. It used to be one job, one EIC. Like I said, labor shortage. It is starting to be, you have OEs running jobs like EICs used to, and EICs will do the approval for 2 or 3 jobs. Yeah, but they try to stick you with one. So like my bridge job is my only job. It's my only responsibility.
It's like the average amount of people you're managing on a specific site. Like, say you're on a, how many people are you?
I have 2 inspectors directly below me, 2 people that I sign their timesheets. I'm responsible if they don't show up for work. I do their performance reviews. The crew that a contractor will dedicate to any given job is very variable. It's based a lot on schedule. If they think they have all the time in the world, there might be 4 guys out there with shovels just kind of doing something. If it's go, 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 there might be 20 of them running around trying to do things.
A little bit of a follow-up to the question.
Mm.
You get to like choose which contractors.
No. It's a low bid system. Whoever gets it, gets it. You pick out what job you want. So you want to be familiar with the project going in. Ideally, you would have input during the design phase for constructability reviews, right? Looking at it and thinking, is the thing that you designed even possible to build in the real world? Which is why they push the TCI program for people who are going to be in the office. Because even 3 months of being out in the field and seeing how people actually do things stops so many mess ups on the design side of, oh, yeah, I guess I can't. Okay, so here's one. Someone told me there was a job where they wanted to replace the bearings, but they wanted to reuse the bolts that held the bearings in place. I don't know if you know how that works. When you lift a bridge so you can repair a bearing, you lift it that much. I'm not going to be able to pick it up and physically take it out. And that was caught during the design phase, and they wound up putting bolts in. But that would have been a change order, and that would have been very expensive in the field. So we do constructability reviews. We review the proposal books and the design documents, right? Is there contradictions? Is there something in here that's left over from an old job? Is there something that a contractor might misinterpret and we want to clarify? And you should know what you're getting into, right? So that I can go and read the standards and specifications. I can review myself with the standards sheets. I can read that portion of the bridge manual and I can understand what they're trying to build before I get into it. So you will pick your job and you'll do all that prep work, and then it's a low bid. Whoever gets a low bid, that's who you're stuck with.
So let's take, for example, your recent project, BI 787.
Yeah.
How early were you brought into that, and how much work did you do getting to understand the project and review things before you
So-
went out in the field?
That one is a special case. And it's a special case because I'm trying to get design time towards my license.
Okay,
So I've been going into the office in the winters to do actual design work.
Yeah.
So I was doing design work on that project. And then they were like, oh, you can just have it. And I was like, oh, great. I know what's going on. And I didn't, but it was fine.
So let's take the Route 21,
Yeah. The what?
the Route 20. What Route?
Oh, Route 2 over 22 in Petersburg.
Thank you.
6 weeks to review all the documents before they started work. Which was more than we really needed, but it was good because we got to put everything together and we actually caught some stuff in the plans before they started working. We were able to fix it out before, we're all sitting around waiting for a revision sheet.
Do you do that separately from the designers or are you the same group?
So we work out of field offices. So I have an actual office that is on the site of every job that I work on. Sometimes it's a Connex trailer, sometimes it's a real office. The one that I'm in now is just like in a strip mall.
Okay.
And that is because we are on the project all day, every day. All day, every day. If they are working, we are working. We are there to watch them. And they don't want us splitting between. In the winter, again, I do go back into the office. We're not in the same room, but we work very closely together. Email is a thing, phone call is a thing. That's why I stress emails and phone calls and needing to be able to convey to someone who isn't on the site what's on the site. Because 90% of the time they're not going to come out and look. You got to tell them what's there.
Does your pay depend on how big the project is that you're working on?
No. I have a base salary and I am overtime eligible. There is a thing called a 22 temporary upgrade. So you get paid in pay grades when you work for the state. I'm a grade 20. If I managed over a certain dollar amount of work that also had a certain level of complexity, there is an upgrade available. Those are for those people that were in the photo with me. Those are for people who have been in for like 30 years. And if they leave and go somewhere else, we're going to lose a lot of technical knowledge. And also they're doing a lot of work and it would be more expensive to pay 2 people to do their stuff. So they made the 22 temporary upgrade, but no, I am salaried with optional overtime. And if you want to know how much, I'll tell you.
How is the pacing? Is it fairly consistent
No.
throughout the year or is it ebbs and flows?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's very dependent on your project. It's very dependent on what you're doing. It's very dependent on the restrictions and where you are geologically or geographically and geologically, I suppose. Because if you run into rock bed, you're going to be screwed. If I'm working up in the Adirondack Parkway, the time of the month, you can take a lane as long as you want. You can just be out on the road. It's no problem. If all of the work that I'm going to do above the bridge deck on 787 is constricted to like 6 hours at night because of the traffic. We also deal with a lot of environmental concerns. So tree cutting is highly restricted because of certain endangered species of bat. There's a law, you can't cut trees within certain dates. We have stream restrictions. Different streams, different rivers are classified differently based on what fish are in them. I can't be in that river while those fish are trying to make more fish, right? It's impact the traveling public. I can't take 2 lanes in the middle of the day on I-90 for 3 months, right? Somebody would have a riot. It's all based on what you're doing, where you're doing it, and how restrictive it is. So we had a job that I was not involved in heavily, but I have heard about through the grapevine. They had a culvert collapse on Hoosick Street on Route 7 a couple of years ago. Yeah, they were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to get Route 7 open because that can't be closed. They said something ridiculous, like every day that it's closed, the state is losing $2 million of revenue or something like that. Like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They had 20 people out there and 2 cranes working on fixing that. You get a guide rail job, 8. They'll come in when they feel like it. They got all year to do it. It's not that big a deal. Striping contracts are very go, 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 stop, because they're so heavily temperature dependent. When you have temperatures, you're going. When it's cold, you can't do anything.
Could someone with like just a physics degree work their way up to your position? Or
Yes.
do you need that?
No. Yes and no, not in the state. The state requires that I have an engineering degree. I need to have an engineering degree, and to have my job, my title, a grade 20, I need to pass my FE.
You can't do that unless you have an engineering.
Unless you have an engineering degree. If you worked for a Stantec for a Ravi, for a Creighton Manning, a consultant firm of a similar size,
Like private?
private,
Okay.
you could work up to that. But then getting onto public jobs, they have requirements, it gets complicated. I would recommend if you want to do anything like this, get a 4-year civil engineering degree. Because if you don't get a 4-year, you will never qualify to get your PE and your advancement stops with me.
What if you get like a master's in civil after physics?
It counts towards 1 year towards your license, but it doesn't really do anything for your career. In my specific industry. I have no, don't let me speak for everybody else here, okay? I'm talking about a very narrow band of,
So you were at Oneonta for 3 years
Mhm.
and Clarkson for 2 years.
Mhm.
Are you calling that a 4-year engineering degree?
it's a 4, so I got 2 degrees. I got a bachelor's in science here in physics, and I got a bachelor's in science from Clarkson in civil engineering. It is 2 separate 4-year degrees that I both earned.
Okay,
And I did it because it was massively cheaper to do it that way. But you do just get a 4-year degree from
Okay.
Clarkson.
so I just wanted to clarify that you say you got to get a 4-year degree in engineering.
I mean, a full bachelor's of science.
People who are in the 3-2 program are going to satisfy that.
Yes, absolutely. What I am discouraging is the 2-year technical degrees. You will be a great inspector. Everybody will love you. You will be so good at your job. Your advancement stops at OE. You.
Sorry, yeah, so this is kind of a strange question, but does your work change like seasonally? Like, are you doing a lot of desk work in the winter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This job, we had a lot of steel work. They were working right up until the 2nd week of February. That is bonkers. Nobody could understand that I was still working. Usually you stop around Thanksgiving. More and more, we're seeing jobs go later and later just because of the restrictive nature. But yeah, nobody wants to be working outside in December. Come on.
Do you have any other advice or techniques for that, getting your foot in the door, like for different jobs? Did you use any kind of like platform, like LinkedIn or something?
I recommend the TCI program above all else. The number of hands that you'll shake, the number of people that you'll meet, they do a real good job of touring you around and being like, look, it's a shiny new engineer. He might be with us in 4 years. I met so many of the people that I know now that I use as technical contacts in the TCI program. And even if you don't wind up working for the state, if you wind up working for a contractor, they'll know you because you're in the TCI program. It's all in construction, actually seeing you on a site and knowing that you're doing the work, because they get a lot of people who apply who have never seen an excavator in real life. Right? So just knowing that you did any amount of actual construction work is a big foot in the door. And again, things like this. That DA Collins job I got was because I went to something like this, and I only went to it because they offered me a bonus point on a test if I went. And they had alcohol because it was Clarkson and I was 21. So go to networking events. You might be there for the free pizza and get a job. So networking events, and getting low-level jobs in the field that you think that you might want to go into, even just to shake hands, is a big deal. I love the TCI program. Basically, every EIC that I work with that's been here for 30 years was a TCI back in the day. And they just progressed like I did into being an engineer.
So if someone with a physics degree applies to like a DOT internship, would they even like look at that application?
Yeah, for an internship, they would.
Okay,
But if you wanted a permanent position, it would depend on what you were applying to. You can look it all up online. There's a public facing website, and it'll list that literally there's a big block, like a big paragraph of every degree that it's applicable to every job. Scroll through it sometime when you're bored in an afternoon. It'll answer your questions better than I can. And they are very rigid. If your thing is not on that list, you're out of luck.
We were talking about before, I looked up for someone who did not have a bachelor's degree from a DET accredited institution, so they could not sit for FE in New York.
Yeah, but that's a new change. You used to be able to with experience. That's a new thing.
I think I did this about 7 or 8 years ago, but the closest state where you could with a physics degree from a non-accredited institution was Virginia. Except for an FE in Virginia.
And then one, why?
I really have no idea. Yeah,
You would have to look into what is transferable where. I know I can take my New York license and I can go to a bunch of other states, and I know that there are states that we will not take. I can't tell you specifics of which is which, but it's like passing the bar. No, that's it. No spicy questions?
oh,
Oh, okay.
We got two.
2 more.
So suppose you were about to drive somewhere in your region.
Yeah.
Are there any bridges that might give you pause and like decision to drive a different way?
There's nothing that's unsafe. If it's unsafe, we post it or we do emergency repairs. We have a 24/7 bridge emergency where and when contract, where if something rises to that level, they'll just take care of it and they will close the bridge. I know a lot of people who are hiring for the department, and one of the things that they pride themselves on is that they have never let something that is unsafe go because it would make politicians or commuters or anyone happy. If it's unsafe, it is getting fixed. We had an instance many years ago, not with anybody that I work with directly, and it's fixed now. Where an EIC was out on a job and they were fixing something. They looked at something and they said, huh, that girder looks funny. They took a picture of it and they sent it to the office. An hour later, the Northway was closed. And the Northway was closed for 2 weeks because they would not open it until it was safe. We're very good at making things safe. My bridge job, we found something that almost rose to it's going on the emergency job. And we wound up keeping it on mind for money reasons, but we wrote Betty and Crane a letter saying, we don't care how much it is, stop everything else, go over there and fix it. And it wound up not being as big as we thought it was going to be when we started getting into it. So they were able to fairly quickly return to their other work. But that was a week, like what I said, where my phone started ringing at 7 and it didn't stop until 5. Because it was coordinating, how are we going to get this fixed as fast as we can? And they don't care about money when something like that happens. Just get it fixed.
I don't know if this is like too personal, but like how much like PTO do you get?
It's the same for all state employees. I accrue 4 hours every pay period, which is biweekly. So there's 26 in a year of vacation time. You get 5 personal days on your anniversary date. So when I started at the state, I started with 5 days. Every year that you're at the state afterwards, you get a bonus day on top of those 5 days. So your second year, you get 6, then 7, then 8, up until 7 years. After 7 years, you just accrue at a higher rate. They don't give you the bonus days. I get an equal amount of sick time. So 4 hours every pay period, but no bonus days in sick time. We get 2 floaters a year, typically for election day and like Lincoln's birthday or something like that. And you get all the nonsense state holidays off, not nonsense, but bank holidays that nobody else really gets off. And I will say our health insurance is some of the best that you can get. I recently made my husband change his over to ours to a family plan. I love my health insurance.
So I know engineering is sort of more of a male-dominated job. Was it uncomfortable when you first started getting into the field?
No, but I think that's because I'm a little autistic sometimes. Maybe other people would have been, it didn't bother me. I was taking computer science classes here and I sat in the front row. And the day of the final, the person who sat next to me came and he sat down next to me and he goes, how does it feel to be the only lady who made it to the end? And I said, what? And I turned around and realized, oh yeah. It doesn't bother me. Being with the state and being an enforcement arm you don't really see it from contractors. I saw it a lot more when I was in private. But when you're the person who can shut the job site down, they don't really mess with you like that. And again, I just can't tell when someone's being patronizing sometimes, so. You raised your hand or you're just stretching? Okay,
Good.
there you go.
And then
Yeah.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you, audience. Good job, everyone.